So most of the time when I make a reading list for the year, I kind of just like, have like certain books I know I want to read, like maybe 2 or 3. And then throughout the year when I pick up books, I kind of like read those. But I've never actually made like a schedule of like what I'm reading each month. But this year I decided the only way that I can really hold myself to the standard to actually force myself to read a certain amount of books and not get distracted or add new ones is to make a list. So here's my reading list for 2025. I've already given myself a head start. I began reading The Wizard of Oz and The Chronicles of Narnia, Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West. But I've never actually confined myself to a month-by-month schedule like this, so we'll see how it goes. So the first books for January, The Wizard of Oz, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and staying on the theme of The Wizard of Oz, I have Wicked. And as you can see, this one's probably the thickest book. It's 406 pages. And The Wizard of Oz is 224 pages. And then The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, 189 pages. So I decided for the first month, again, because I've had a little bit of a head start since I started reading this one and this one in December, I've had some time to kind of, get ahead, but I also had some time to slack, so that's usually what happens, is I began reading something and then I get lost. But I've tried to do about 2 or 3 books a month is my goal this year. I know some people read a lot of books, but to be honest with you, my goal is to read about 20 books this year. I don't really have very high expectations just because of time. It's very hard for me to get to commit to a lot of these books. This is pretty easy. I'm starting off with, very easy kind of books intentionally, because I'm building up to some that are a little bit more time consuming, and I'm going to have to read anyway for school and stuff, so I knew that my, fun reading on the side is going to have to be kind of limited. For February, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and I also have Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic Emperor. Staying on the theme of Marcus Aurelius, I have Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And again, you can see these are pretty short books. A 277-page book. So that's Confessions of an Economic Hitman is 277 pages. And I don't count the notes and stuff. I just kind of skip to what the last chapter was. A lot of notes, my goodness. And genealogies, chronology, okay. So about 184 pages for this one. And 104 pages for Meditations. So again, this is a relatively short month. I'm expecting to get through that, hopefully pretty quickly, unless other things come up. Most of the time what happens is I find other books and I get more interested in those, and then I, get lost. But I'm trying to, the whole reason I'm making this list is to stay consistent with my reading. I don't mind if I read other books too, it's just I want to, accomplish what I put out my goal to be. And for March, I kind of made this one a little bit more simpler. A Wrinkle in Time, which is going to be pretty short, 242 pages. I'm sorry, it's 245 pages, and The Girl with 7 Names is 293 pages. So again, these are pretty short, and I've only chosen 2 books. I might, as the year goes on, I anticipate that. I might add some books, but I'm just trying to create a very basic template for myself based on my interest, because I always find these reading lists online. I always oh, I like this, I like that, but then there's a lot of things I'm I'm going to be bored with this. So I kind of try to mix it up with things I know I'll for sure like. Okay, so now we're going to move on to April. So for April, I have A Child Al Confino, and then I have Maya Angelou, Phenomenal Woman. And I think this one is, as you can see from how it's laid out, going to be not taking me that long to read. It looks like it's about 382 pages. And of course this one, I mean, this is incredibly small. This is 22 pages. For the month of April, it seems like I cut myself a lot of slack. Because I'm expecting around this time, I'm probably going to start adding more books. But, again, this is a very basic reading list. I know a lot of people read like this in like a day, for God's sake. I'm talking about just creating a basic goal where I can be like, okay, I achieved this. It's hard to get back into reading, to be honest. And for May, we have Butter, which I'm kind of venturing out into different genres now. Most of the time I kind of have been staying in the classic books and then, you know, putting another, like, either biography or something with it. But we have Siddhartha, and Butter is 452 pages. And Siddhartha is 122 pages. That's not that much at all. And again, I'm expecting throughout the year I'm going to add more books, but at this point, I thought this was like a good template, just like, you know. And that's for May. For June, I know some people might say this is not, you know, that much reading, but I have dedicated just one book, since this is a pretty big book. Kind of hard for me to read a lot of these kinds of books because I get bored. So this is about 600 something pages, not counting the notes and all of that. And this is Underground Asia, and I'm going to try to finish that in the month of June. That's usually when the term ends, so I'll have some extra time. So that's my goal. I'm trying to just do that kind of a big book every once in a while, and that'll be one of them. And then moving on to July, we have Cannery Row by John Steinbeck, and then we have The Aquarians of Pyongyang. So for Cannery Row, that's only, I mean, look how it's laid out. It's going to be a pretty quick read, right? We have 181 pages, so again, that's relatively short. And then 239 pages for The Aquarians of Pyongyang. And that's once again for the month of July. So I'm expecting most likely I might switch this around as time goes on. I might take some more time reading like a big book like this one, like Underground Asia, and it might continue on to the next month, or I might finish these sooner and, you know, go ahead. We'll see how it is. So for August, I have In the Land of Invisible Women. So going into August, that's when the new term starts. I kind of am going based on when I have any type of free time. So for August, I have In the Land of Invisible Women, and that's about 437 pages. But again, this shouldn't be too bad of a read. And then moving into September, I have Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Friedrich Nietzsche. And I have I Am Najud, Age 10, and Divorced. So a lot of the books I've chosen are books that I have been reading and then gave up halfway or even a quarter of the way just because of time or lack of interest. So I'm expecting, hopefully this year, I can actually complete a lot of the books that I start, because I have a habit of just kind of starting a bunch of books, getting bored and then moving on, and then I never finish any books. And then when it comes to the end of the year, I have like a bunch of books that I've read halfway or a quarter of the way, or hey, even 90% of the way, but then I get bored and then I move on. So I never really, like for the example, this year I've only read like 11 books. And that's insane, considering I should be reading more, but I've only read 11 books. And at least I'm happy because that's at least something. And in prior years, I would barely read even 1 or 2 books, unless it was, again, for like an assignment or something. So I've chosen these 2 for September. And the page count on this should be This one I know is going to be maybe a little bit more time consuming based on the topics and everything. This is 336 pages, and for I'm the Jud, 176 pages. So again, pretty light reading. So for October, I'm going to read Oracle Bones, and this one is, how many pages? 471 pages. So Oracle Bones is 471 pages, and I'm reading that for the month of October. Wow, I feel like I've never planned this far ahead, on my reading list, to be honest. And then for November, I'm going to be doing one that I've actually really been anticipating. I've wanted to read this for a while. This is Guns, Germs, and Steel. And I saw this like several times now. And I've heard a lot of good things about it. So I'm excited to kind of like end the year with that. And I mean, end 2025 with that. Let me make that clear. 457 pages. And then December, this is for November. And for December, I'm going to have it be a catch-up month. So anything I didn't finish, or anything I want to add, any like books I find that year, I'll do that. Okay, so here we are. Here are the books starting me off in January, and then February, March, April, May, all the way down to November. And then for December, if I want to add any other books I want to read, that's where I'll put it. And if I have any books I need to catch up on, I'll use that as a catch-up month. I'm planning to read 20 books this year, so my goal is to set up this list like this so that I can actually follow along and have a template. But my goal is to kind of challenge myself to see how consistent I can be with reading. Hopefully I accomplish this. I have a feeling I will. I'm pretty determined. I also wanted to say I just now have a Goodreads account, so if you want to see like all the books that I have or books that I'm reading, I'll link that in the description below if you're interested. And thank you for watching. See you in the next one.